CNT125 Network Management Wireless Lab. We just got done configuring the access point and then connecting it to our network and hooking up our laptop and testing its functionality. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to add some security. We're going to think back to the access control list that we did in the previous lab. We're going to put that into the wireless network to just filter the wireless users. Now, before we do that, we want to make sure everything is functioning as it should. So it's kind of like our baseline to know whether the access list we put in is working or maybe we just did something wrong. So what we're going to do is we're going to test with our VLAN 10 PC, VLAN 30 PC, and laptop. We're going to do some browsing and pinging testing. Now, chances are in the last section you moved your VLAN 10 PC over to VLAN 30 to finish configuring the access point. So you may need to move this VLAN 10 PC back, and I'm going to do that now. I'm going to take my VLAN 10 PC here. I'm going to make sure I have the right one. There we go. I'm going to put it back into a VLAN 10 port. It was over in VLAN 30. I'm going to put it in a VLAN 10 port. I'm going to, at my command prompt here, I'm going to do a release, and I'm going to do a renew to make sure it picks up a VLAN 10 IP. While that's going on, I'm just going to minimize the browser because I don't need that connection right now. And I'm getting an 8, an IP address from the 8 subnet, which is excellent. So I know I'm back in VLAN 10. What I want to do is I want to browse, ping, telnet, and SSH in my VLAN 10 and VLAN 30 PC. So on my VLAN 10 PC, I'm going to open up my browser and go to something like Hack or Google, one of the two. I pick on them because they're pretty much always there. So I know the browsing's working good. I'm going to ping. I'll ping something like Google. Good. I get success there. I'm going to telnet. So I'm going to open up a new putty session. I'm going to telnet to our test site, telehack.com. And I get there, so I know telnet's functioning. And I'm going to close that, and I'll open up an SSH session to my router. Well, my router gateway right now is 8.1. So I'll do SSH to 192.168.8.1. Accept the encryption key. I'll say password Doug, or username Doug, password. And I will log in, enable class. All of this should be functioning. Now, if this SSH is not working, you'll need to go back to your router console and make sure that your SSH config is correct. And repeat those steps if you need to get your encryption key, get the login local, etc. Repeat those SSH config steps if this is not functioning correctly. So it should be. You should be able to do what I'm doing right now using SSH connecting into my router. And what this is telling me, I'll close that out. What this is telling me is there's nothing filtering traffic on VLAN 10. Right, we haven't put anything in there. Do the same test on your VLAN 30 PC and do these tests, browse and ping on the laptop. Okay, all those should function. If something is not, go back to troubleshooting. Those things I showed you earlier, looking at your subinterfaces, the addressing, the inside-outside NAT, those sorts of things. Your DHCP, make sure your DHCP scopes are correct. Double check all those things, correct anything you need to, then try the tests again. What we're going to do now is we want to filter just the wireless users. Because again, we're kind of assuming maybe they're visitors and we don't know who they are, so we want to filter their traffic. And we're going to use filtering this way, where we are going to only allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic. So basically browsing. So to do that, we're going to use our implicit deny rule to help us, because the implicit deny will deny anything we don't permit. So we're actually going to permit what we want and let the implicit deny take care of denying everything else. While we do need to remember, if we want HTTP and HTTPS, we also need DHCP and DNS. If I don't allow DHCP, you're going to lose your IP address. If I don't allow DNS, you're not going to be able, you won't be able to look up any websites. So I need to allow at least these four. So to do that, I'm going to build my access list, and I'm actually going to build it in my notepad and get my syntax there, and then I'll paste it into the router. And that allows me, if I have to make changes to, I can change the notepad and repaste it in the router, because changing access lists in the router can be rather troublesome. It tends to be like all or nothing. So I'm actually going to build it in my notepad. Okay, so here's my notepad. And then I'm going to transfer it into the router. I'll just copy paste into the router. Okay, so here's my syntax. This is the syntax I need to use right there. So thinking back, we're going to do access list, and I'm going to use the number 130. The reason being, for me, this is just a Mr. Brown thing. Anything above 100 is an extended access list. And I'm making an access list to filter VLAN 30, so I'm just going to say 130 to filter VLAN 30. That's what Mr. Brown's doing. That's just makes logical sense for me. We are going to permit, well, I'm going to permit the DHCP traffic first. I want to make sure that's permitted. Well, DHCP uses UDP. It uses UDP. So I'm going to permit UDP, and I'm going to say from where? Well, when a computer doesn't have an IP, it doesn't have an IP. So I can't specify a network because they don't have one yet. So I have to allow anywhere to go to the DHCP server. And I'm going to say from anywhere to anywhere equal to, well, there's 2 ports for DHCP. There's one for the server and one for the client. So 67, and now we need to permit 68. So I'm going to be smart here and copy paste 68. So there's my first 2 lines for DHCP. I then want to permit my DNS traffic. 130 permit UDP. Now, we do have a source now, because once they have an IP, they're going to be generating DNS requests. So the 192.168.24 network will be the source. We need the source network and inverse mask. So 008.255. Oh, excuse me, 7.255, because we borrowed the 8 place. So 7. We're going to say going to anywhere. Now, we could be specific, saying only to 8888. We could do that. Or our own DNS server. We could do that, but I'm going to just say anywhere for now. Equal to, anywhere equal to 53 for DNS. I now want to allow port 80 or web traffic. This uses TCP. So access list 130. Helps if I have the right command in here. There we go. Access list 130. Permit TCP now. TCP from my 192.168.24.0 network 007.255 to any website equal to 80. And here's the nice part. I can copy this and paste this down for the last line down here. Because all that's going to be the same except my port number 443. 443 for HTTPS. There's my access list written. So what I can do is I'll do a save as on this, so I have this in case I need to make changes. Let me go to our network management lab, and I'll call this my ACL plan. And if I need to make changes, I can change it here and paste it back into the router. All right, I'm going to paste this beastie into the router. I'm going to copy. I'm going to come over to my console. I'm going to do a config T, and I'm going to right-click paste, and that'll paste that in. Now, if I have any weird commands or typos in here, it's going to error out. So that's where I would go back to my notepad and fix them. Okay, so it is in here now. So if I do a show run, it is in my router. It's down here. Keep going, keep going. There it is right here. But it's not being used yet. I haven't applied it anywhere. It's just sitting there. I just told the security guard, I want you to check for, people bringing soda bottles into the classroom. But I didn't tell them what classroom and when to start checking. So that they're like, okay, I know I need to do this, but I don't know where and when. So we now need to apply this to our router. And we want to filter the wireless users, so we're going to apply it to the wireless subinterface. We're going to apply it to just here. That way it filters just those users. So config T interface, gigabit Ethernet 0/0/0.30. We're going to say IP access group 130 in. We want to filter the users coming into this interface. So the wireless users coming through the access point, through the switch, into this interface, we're going to filter them. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Now, if I go over here and do a show run, I will see under this interface, I'll see that's being applied. And the 130 lets me know this is the list it's using. It's using this list of filtering commands. Now, secondly, you're going to notice some of my port numbers changed to names, but some of them stayed numbers. Yeah, the 67, 68 changed here. My 53 changed to DNS or domain. 80 changed it to World Wide Web, and 443 stayed 443. That's one of the reasons we had you learn port numbers early on, because this is where they become useful. You need to kind of know back and forth. This is where it becomes useful knowing them. So spending some time earlier should be paying off now. Okay, so we have it in there. What I want to do now is test. So my VLAN 10 PC should not be affected at all, but my VLAN 30 on my laptop should be affected. So I'm going to rerun my tests. I'll open up my browser. I'll browse to a place like Hack or Google. This VLAN 10 PC is not affected. I'm going to try a ping. VLAN 10 PC is not affected. I'll try my telnet. I got to grab Putty over here. There you are. Let's try telnet. Telehack.com. Not affected. Okay, so I'll try all my tests on the VLAN 10. Nothing should be affected. Everything should still work. When I go to the VLAN 30 PC, we'll be able to browse. We'll be able to browse. If I try to ping, that's not going to be permitted. If I try to telnet, it's not going to be permitted. If I try to SSH, it's not going to be permitted. You'll see all those timing out or erroring out. On my laptop, I'll be able to browse, but I won't be able to ping because we have not permitted ICMP. We have not permitted ICMP. So make sure you test all of those. Make sure you test all that functionality. Right now, I'm only on my VLAN 10 PC. That's the one I'm recording. But over on my VLAN 30 PC, I'm going to be testing that to make sure it is filtering correctly. All right, so I paused there for a second. I went over to my VLAN 30 PC on my laptop, and I tried them. Browsing worked, pinging did not, telnet did not, SSH did not. On my laptop, I could browse, but I could not ping. So I know my access list is filtering correctly. Now, before we leave any of the wireless, make sure you grab your proof now. So on your laptop, pull up your wireless settings so you can see that you're connected to your access point. Showing your SSID, and grab a picture of that, either a screenshot or something, to show that you have your laptop actually connected to your wireless network. Save that, and if you want to, you can log into D2L right now and submit it so you have it there, or you can save it to submit later. It's up to you. But make sure you get your wireless laptop settings. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to try to get our our access point, showing our access point configured. So what we'll do, using our VLAN 30 PC, we'll browse back in. So I'm going to try to pause and do that real quick. Alright, I took this PC that I'm using, I plugged it into a VLAN 30 port just so you can see. I made sure I got an IP from there. I'm going to browse back into the access point. I'll use my password 123. I'm going to go to the status page here and show the setup. There we go. I want to see this here, the LAN WAN. Grab a picture of this, a screenshot of this, and that'll show your access point configured and in your network. And that'll show the proof of this configuration. So make sure you grab those two. And again, if necessary, log in the D2L right now and submit it from here and also from your laptop. That we have both of those pieces before the end of the lab. We are going to continue on with more configuration, but I wanted to make sure you got that before we moved out of the wireless piece.